that will get us there.
Well, this is true, by the way. This is what I've been told, that she's deferring to him.
Well, isn't that what she should do?
Yeah, but the question becomes, is Magic qualified to be somebody running an NBA franchise? We know he's a great player. We know he's a great guy. We know he knows how to run business. This is a real job.
Well, he did land LeBron James.
Yes, he did. That's very fair. Home run. But the rest of it, there's a lot of stories coming from legitimate reporters that it's man overboard.
I am not disagreeing with that, and all of the evidence would point to it's quite a dysfunctional situation.
Right.
However, I think we probably need to give this just a little bit more time.
All right, that's fair.
He did land LeBron James.
Okay.
We are not through the free agency period yet. We're not through the draft.
All right.
There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that could happen.
Okay.
So I don't want to move too quickly with the Magic doesn't know what he's doing thing.
No, by the way, I also didn't think it's fair to say earlier in the show I started when the guy said, Magic's ruined the place. That's way too harsh.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's outlandish to say that. The Lakers were not in a good space when Magic took over. Let's not forget what happened here. It's not like he took over the Warriors and now all of a sudden they're missing the playoffs.
No, he didn't take over Alabama football. He took over Kentucky football. I mean, he didn't take over a home run situation.
I know we tend to just kind of focus on the now, but you can, they have the records and stuff still available online. Magic did not create this situation at all.
Right.
Now, there were some moves, obviously D'Angelo Russell and, Julius Randle. There's some moves here that you could examine and say that they weren't the best moves. You could also do that for every single president and GM in the NBA. So I just think it needs a little bit more time. I do think that this offseason is critical, and I like that Jeannie is being very upfront about they're not in the place that they need to be.
Yeah.
Because that's important. So sticking with the Lakers, apparently getting star players to come to LA is not the only thing LeBron is struggling with when it comes to recruitment. Brian Windhorst said on The Jump yesterday, LeBron has perfected the art of influencing deals without taking ownership of them. Of course, he will reach out to free agents. The ability for him to close deals, that's different. He's been recruiting players to come and be in Space Jam with him this summer, and he hasn't been able to close some of those deals. Some of the top guys he wants to come and be with him in the movie.
Interesting.
I remember Jordan had Barkley, Muggsy Bogues, Patrick Ewing, Sean Bradley, Larry Johnson, Larry Bird.
But Michael, as great as Michael was, Michael didn't constantly remind you he was above you. Like, Michael had his boys. By the way, Michael's best friend, B.J. Armstrong, I mean, he had a lot of dudes that he was tight with.
MJ has a completely different reputation in the league than LeBron.
No question.
And for a lot of different reasons. And I'm sure everybody didn't have a positive relationship with Michael Jordan, which that's, you can say that about anyone on earth.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting that he's having some issues. I told you, I don't think that this is very unfortunate timing to have to shoot this film coming off of this season, and obviously it's not going to come out for a few years, but it's still like one more thing that LeBron said yes to that is now on his plate in a situation where he's rehabbing from his first major injury and coming off missing the playoffs his first season in LA. I wondered about this. I really did. And I'm very interested to see who ends up being in the movie. Because none of his Lakers teammates were involved in any of these current projects that he had going on.
His best friend's D. Wade.
Well, I think Wade will be in the movie.
Yes, I think Wade is in the movie. Yeah, I mean, that'll happen. But it's like, it can't be a buddy cop movie. You know,
I mean, is MJ in the movie?
Oh, hell no.
So it's just a complete...
Yeah, well, there you go.
I don't know.
It's an interesting story.
It is. Finally, Mike McCarthy is defending himself against the bombshell Tyler Dunne article. One of the accusations made was that McCarthy missed team meetings to get a massage. McCarthy said that story is absurd. He told NFL Network, "I wouldn't even know where to start and stop with the article, but to say that I skipped a team meeting for a massage is utterly absurd. I have a massage scheduled tomorrow, and I can promise you I will not miss my primary responsibility of picking up my 2 kids from school."
All I can say is I can confirm through my own source that this massage therapist was in the building. McCarthy regularly marketed this person and encouraged others to use this therapist. So this therapist was not like a hidden artifact in the building. It was a well-known person, and
I need to know more about this story. Like, because seriously, I mean, coaches do a lot of standing.
Yes.
Like, back issues. Like,
Yes.
Was he in a situation where he was in pain and that's why he wasn't in the meeting? Like, what happened there?
Well,
I feel like that. Let's find out.
Enjoy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
I've said it for years. Major League Baseball media, there's a few exceptions like Tom Verducci, is a lot of romanticizing and not enough actual reporting. NBA basketball, there's some really good friends of mine who do reporting. I like Mark Stein a lot. And there's other people I like, my Chris Broussard thing. But there is a lot of fawning. But in football, there's real teeth to reporting. And Joy, as you and I, this is not just about opinions on this show. We are journalists.
You consider yourself a journalist.
Oh.
I am not a journalist.
Oh, I think you're more of a journalist. Do you have sources?
I have sources.
Of course you do. You're a journalist. I know you do because you tell me stuff that I don't know. So you're a journalist. Now, we may be small J journalism.
We are definitely small
because
J.
we're not in locker rooms. But you have a bunch of...
Well, I would say also, we don't do the vetting so much and
Right.
we don't have our hand in the dirt, so
and
to
we
speak.
acknowledge that. But we are, because we're the home of great journalism, we are handing out something. Tyler Dunne wrote a punitive, tough, well-sourced story on the Packers that took months to do. And I was just so fond of it. We are presenting for the first time ever. Bring that out, please. A trophy. He wins our first ever Big J Award to acknowledge excellence in hard-hitting sports journalism. Let's hear it. Tyler Dunne, and let's bring him on via the Coward Global Satellite Network. This has to be a career highlight for this young man. First of all, look at the size of that damn thing. You deserve a ton of credit. 'Cause, by the way, these stories are difficult because I've never done anything to this level. But did you call? Let me start with this. Did you call Aaron and say, "Listen, I'm writing this story. Would you like to respond to it?" How did that call go?
Well, thanks for having me, Colin. I appreciate it. The approach to this story, and it was about 4 or 5 months in the works, I guess, when I started calling people and having covered the Packers for the Journal-Sentinel. A lot of players, a lot of coaches, a lot of scouts, a lot of people in the Rolodex. I wanted that perspective of 45, 50 people, as many people as possible, to just figure out what happened. I mean, how do you get from point A to point B? How do you get from dominating, doing whatever you want offensively, to what you saw last year and the coach being fired? So that was the goal, to get people to not have one singular agenda one way or another. We're gonna hear the Aaron Rodgers story. We're gonna hear the Mike McCarthy story. Let's get everybody, and then if there are things to check in on, things to confirm, let's hear it from both of those individuals. No luck getting either. Tried on both, but I think that, to me, the better story is that cross section of everybody involved to figure out the answer to that question. Just what happened, and those are the two people that just keep coming up.
CEO there is Mark Murphy. I think I could be wrong. He's a Harvard guy. He's a highly educated guy, very smart. Played for I remember him as a player actually, and he kind of runs the Packers. So he had to make a choice here. I mean, he had to make a choice. You're not going to fire Aaron Rodgers, so he fires the coach. Right. There's a moment in here, and I think this is great, where he went to Aaron when he announced the new coach, and he said, "Hey, with Matt LaFleur, don't be the problem." Don't be the problem. When do you believe Murphy, could be 5 years ago, started realizing Aaron was difficult?
What's interesting, Colin, is when Mark Murphy became the president of the Packers. I mean, remember that time. Brett Favre's trying to take his job back, and it's Mark Murphy, Mike McCarthy, Ted Thompson standing by Aaron Rodgers saying, "This is our guy." And when everybody is telling Mark Murphy, "What are you doing?" I mean, Brett Favre just took you to the NFC Championship game. You're 13-3. He was unbelievable. He stood by Aaron Rodgers. I think he really wanted to be a president who wasn't involved. Extremely approachable guy, one of the nicest team presidents that you'd meet, a Western New Yorker. And I think that over time, he just wanted Ted Thompson to run the show, run the football team. And it was on Ted Thompson, really. He never saw the forest from the trees. At least that's my reporting took me. A lot of people believe that he was so involved with the scouting, so involved with the pro days, the draft, building, draft and develop. He never saw this big picture problem that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers really couldn't work together, and that it shouldn't have lasted a decade plus.
Yeah.
So he never stepped in. Now, I think health had a factor to play as well. I mean, I heard that his speech was slurred. I was moving very slowly. He was falling asleep in meetings. There were people around Ted Thompson that really feel like a Mark Murphy should have stepped in. Well, guess what? A Mark Murphy finally did step in.
Yeah.
Basically fired, in quotes, Ted Thompson, and then stepped in and split Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Long overdue. I think it's a good thing. Remember, the fans own the team in Green Bay. That's the reason there's even football in Green Bay.
Yeah.
It's a unique setup. It's one of the best stories in sports. But sometimes you need an owner to step in, ball up the fist, slam the table, and make these big decisions. In so many words, in this Mark Murphy way, he did that.
Yeah, by the way, he went to Colgate, not Harvard. He was also the AD at Northwestern. Right. He has a law degree from Georgetown. I remember him as a very good player for the Washington Redskins, highly educated, just a super smart guy who got stuck in the middle of this thing and had to make a decision. I think he made the right decision with Thompson. I think he made the right decision. When years ago, I said about 8 years ago, I started saying this on the air, and I got a lot of pushback saying, Aaron's doesn't connect with players in the sidelines. There's a lot of eye rolling, and I don't love it. When I read your story, Tyler, and he talked about freezing certain receivers, freezing out receivers and going to Devontae Adams and not the young guys and developing them, that is really remarkable. Like, that stuff, it's hard to get my brain wrapped around that.
Right.
I don't think that didn't happen for years, right? That was like this year, it had gotten so ugly this year, right? Like, that's not a trend of Aaron. That's just like a peeing match in the last, 6 games.
Yeah, I think you're right, Colin. And remember, there was this talent drain. The system worked, the scheme worked. When you have Greg Jennings one-on-one, nobody can hang with. And when you've got Jordy Nelson on those back shoulder throws, when you've got linebackers trying to cover Jermichael Finley, when you've got Donald Driver, James Jones, Randall Cobb, you've got all these players. I mean, of course you're going to win those one-on-one matchups. So it got to that point over time where teams knew exactly what Green Bay was going to run. I mean, you've got cornerbacks calling out the routes. You wonder why the slant route died. As a personnel man told me, they just knew what was coming because the Packers didn't evolve, didn't adapt. You lose that talent. You draft 3 rookies. I think that Aaron Rodgers got